presented by Shammy Narayanan and Vijaya Ranganathan from Thryve Digital. The topic is Load of Transforming While Performing. A warm welcome to Shammy and Vijaya Ranganathan. Over to you.
Paul, thank you, Pradeep, Tanya, Kumar, and other members of the organizing committee. It's a 2 day event, and the way you have been meticulously planning and you have been doing this is incredible. Thank you for that. And a good luck to all the speakers who have lined up. I did see through the agenda, that's a very interesting line of topics. I'm eagerly looking forward for it. And thank you for the title sponsors as well as all the supporters of this event. And the last but not least, thank you for all the attendees as well as the judges who are here, who have spent their time, taken the time. Especially, I just came to know that there are people who are from US as well as India, overlapping time zone, spent burning the midnight oil to make this event a grand success. Thanks to all of you. And today, before I get on to the topic, I want to introduce myself and my co author, give a little bit of introduction and directly get into the topic. I am Shammy Narayanan. I have 20 years of experience in creating healthcare products and name any private cloud. I have at least a couple of professional certifications on it. And my role is I'm a senior director in Thryve Digital, wherein I take care of all the data and put into the best use for the 14 million customers whom we serve. And in fact, even as we speak, we are in the middle of a larger transformation program, which we believe will be a cornerstone in our creating a unique member experience. And my co-author Vijaya, who unfortunately couldn't join today due to a personal conflict, she is a senior director. She is heading the delivery assurance group in Thryve Digital. Under the sun, anything on process, whether it is Six Sigma or Lean Sigma or ISO or Safe Agile, she has. She's a process guru. She has a certification in all of it. And together today, the topic which we have selected is load of transforming while performing. It comes under the segment business leadership and program management. At the onset, let me tell you something. I'm allergic to PowerPoint presentations. So when this particular format came to me saying that, okay, you have to create a PPT, the way I thought is I don't want to bore any one of you. So what I have done is I have taken a stand wherein out of 30 slides which I have prepared, other than two, all are only visuals. So my intent here is uh, co- to give you a story, to tell you a story and keep the verbiage portion of it as minimal as possible so that let us have a meaningful, engaging presentation for the next few minutes. So, having said that, let's get into the topic straight away. In nature, right, every 6 months, even a snake changes or peels off its complete skin and gets into a new hood. And that is applicable even to all the industries which we see around us. Once in 10 years, every industry around us completely gets transformed, and that is inevitable. So those organization which understands it and leads the change, they are very successful. Certain organizations which follow the change are moderately successful, and few who are very reluctant, they get obsolete. And just to support my thought, I have taken a Fortune 500 organization, the top 10 from 2010 and 2020. If you just see few organizations which were never there as part of the top 10 are appearing today because they took this transformation seriously and they were riding the wave. Certain organization which didn't take it, for example, if you take Blockbuster, today it is not even a phenomenon there. That organization doesn't exist. But that doesn't mean entertainment industry is not there. Netflix is actually expanded. To put it in a precise word, it is around 300 times growth from 2010 to 2020. So that means that always growth is there, but how do we transform? That is pretty important. And when we do transform, right, one thing which I've always seen is we when we focus on the outcome of the transformation, there is a pattern behind the transformation, whether it is a legacy modernization or whether you're getting into the digital transformation. When we look beneath the work which is being done, what we have seen, me and Vijaya put together, is we have seen a pattern which can be consolidated as a template, and that can be applicable even today, and that stays true even for the future. So let me not bore you with more of theory, but give you a very, very familiar example and drive home the fact on this pattern which I'm talking about. So the screen which you look at is called as the green screen or the CICS screen, or people who had been in industry for more than 20 years, they would easily recognize it. It is one of the mainframe screens. So the screen, you have to press F3 to come out of it or to go to the previous screen. You don't even have a scroll logic here. So you need to press F7 and F8. F7 for scrolling up, F8 for scrolling down. And if you want to save some information, you have to press F5. Now, this is the way in which applications were written in the mainframe era. But slowly, when the transformation was happening to the client server model, now, if I'm going to say that, okay, there is something called client server, I'm going to lift and shift this application, it doesn't mean that I have to use the same F3 in the GUI based system for going back, or I have to use an F7 and F8 for scrolling up and down. So, what we do is, if you realistically see in this transformation, we didn't do a lift and shift, but rather we started tapping in the potential of the new system, saying that, okay, it has a beautiful GUI, it has more user driven features. So the application stays there, but my presentation layer changes. So every transformation brings in something new. In this case, specifically, I'm talking about user experience. In mainframe world, no one talks about user experience because such an entity doesn't exist. But in a client server world, it exists. So if I don't take advantage of it, then actually I'm not basically making a right transformation. However, it not only gives you a new opportunity, it also gives you new challenges. In a mainframe world, none of us have heard anything about hacking. But the moment our client server started, you have your firewall, you have your SQL injection, you have your distributed denial of service. A lot of new terminologies came into picture. So new threats, new challenges comes into picture. And also the collaboration with business. What I mean by that is, when the business understands that there is a new technology, it will sign up for it, saying that IT guys, go ahead and do it. Even at that point in time, they will be figuring out how do we utilize this technology to improve our sales, how do we make it more intimate to the customers. It's not that they have figured out everything, so we need to start sitting with them, help understanding, saying that, okay, now assume that you're an insurance company. Now with the GUI, you can even directly go ahead and start paying your premium as a self-service. You can renew your quote, which is not possible in the legacy world. It always has to be done through a customer service agent. So these are few things which probably today might seem very simple and silly, but what I see here is no transformation is like a direct lift and shift, and every transformation along with it brings in a new opportunity and a new threat, as well as it increases the collaboration with business. So what we are going to do is, we have taken a very simple thing of a mainframe based legacy transformation, understood some pattern. Now let us take it and apply to the real world, and I'll help you understand from a practical standpoint what we have seen in executing few of the digital transformation programs. And if any one of you believe that why we should do all this, we will be successful once a playbook is out there, which will tell me that step one, you do this, step two, you do this, step three, you do this. Absolutely, yes. a playbook will help you, but when a playbook comes in, almost the technology would have passed the prime. So that is where what I meant is you will be lagging behind the race. A playbook is good, but a playbook doesn't come in the beginning of the game. It comes almost when the technology is well matured. Many organizations, your competitors have already implemented it, and that is where the lessons learned and best practices are compressed and made available to you. So don't ever wait for a playbook in a case of a transformation. We have to deal with uncertainty. And today's topic, I'm going to focus more on digital transformation. If you ask me why digital transformation, three main reasons. Today, in any of the industry across the planet, if you take any CIO, he or she would have put in his best efforts, or most of his budget would be around digital transformation. And number two, whether it is a large consulting organization or a mom and pop store which is just sprouting up in some remote corner of Bangalore or Chennai or Hyderabad, their go to market strategy is based on digital transformation. So one side you have a lot of dollars, the other side you have a lot of folks. But the ironical truth is only 14% of the digital transformation program has succeeded so far in the last 10 years put together. And I have given the link. This is from McKinsey directly. And if any one of you feel that probably I'm just quoting one odd number to make a business case, let me give you some more statistics around it. When I was doing this paper, I went back to Gartner, I went back to Forbes. Gartner was saying that only 8% of the digital transformation programs are successful. Forbes had only 10. So, in fact, out of all the numbers which were available in their authentic website, I took the highest of it. So, 86 percentage of the programs are either dropped in the midway or they are never successful. Why? And that is something we want to explore with the learnings which we just covered from our mainframe transformation. So, and I'm very proud that me and Vijay are part of this 14, because in the last 5 years, we have delivered two major digital transformation program for Thrive itself. So, in such case, I feel that okay, certain learnings which we took are very relevant and very, very applicable that we need to share with the larger audience. Five learnings, right? One is a people strategy, the other is the transition strategy, third is a technology, and the fourth is collaboration. The last one I will make it as a surprise. We will deal when it comes over there. People strategy. Whenever any organization, small or big, we think about okay, let's do a digital transformation, the very first thing which comes to our mind is okay, let's go ahead, uh, hire some consultant or outsource to the best consultant, let them come and show us a roadmap, let them put a blueprint and we'll get there. I'm not berating it. That is a good thing to do. But we also have to remember that all your applications were built in by the team which you had for the last several years. They know the blind spots in the application, they know the hairpin bins in the application. So suddenly, when you take a stand that we are going to go ahead and do a series of lateral hiring and bring in an outsourcing consultant to do all this, the very first thing which happens to the in-house team is they start feeling annoyed, and either some of them walk away or others become stiff-necked and they start putting up resistance. And for all practical purpose, you need to know when you bring in an external consultant or an outsourcing organization, they are like a packers and movers. They will rely on some of the documentation which you might have in your archive folder, which was never updated for the last several years. That is the source of truth for them. Or they may have certain series of discussion with selected few in the organization to understand your landscape, and they will start trying to listen to you and implement your strategy. But who knows the business? teams. So what you need to do, or what actually we did in when we had a training strategy, it doesn't mean training program into it. You also need to revisit your rewards and recognition program, because now you have a set of folks whom you are trying to drive them out of their comfort zone, and you cannot expect them to come out of the comfort zone when all the other things are stable. So you might need to incentivize them, you might need to motivate them, and once you bring them on board, you also need to invest on a sandbox, because a few days of training, right, maybe a 5-day training or even a 2 weeks training, will not make them an expert. It will just give them an exposure. So you might need to create a sandbox wherein they will start playing around, they will start making mistakes, and eventually they will learn. So what really happens is, once you have brought in your team on board with the decision, and you never make them to feel vulnerable, the very first thing they do is they participate in your journey. They participate in your journey, and they from resistance to results. They participate in your journey, and they will dig out and tell you, hey, you know what, the music have the very first thing they did is they started upskilling their own team. So if they can take a chance and they have been successful with the 175 million customer base, uh, the organizations or the businesses I'm talking about is only a fraction of it. So it is a proven path, and that is the very first thing we have to embrace in a digital transformation journey. The second thing is technology or a technical strategy. Most of the time, under program management, there is a fallacy where we think program managers are more limited to ensuring the schedules are taken care, the stakeholder management, they need not be technical. Program management and technology are considered to be poles apart, at least in the practical sense. So if you have the same doubt, I just wanted to let you know you are part of the same pool as NASA. When NASA started this digital transformation journey with the first phase, they had a 50% cost overrun because their program managers also thought the same thing. They just thought that, okay, technology is left to the architects, left to the designers, left to the developers. Program managers have to take care of the entire gamut of things. So what really happens, let me give you an example and drive home this fact. When you see the three quadrants of any effective program management, cost is one of the important aspect. And now let me give you an example. So in the journey which I and Vijaya underwent, we had a very good architect. He came to us saying that, okay, I have a cloud one where all my data is stored, and I have a cloud two wherein this data will be taken for processing and will be sent back. The idea behind that concept was, he was thinking that by segregating the storage and compute separately, you are building in more resilience. Technically, he was right. But what I also know is, every time a data enters into any of the cloud, whether it is Azure, AWS, or GCP, immaterial, they don't charge you. But the moment the data comes out of the cloud, you are incurring a charge. The charge might be minimal. In my case, assume, let us simplify it, it is just a 1 cent. 1 cent will be 2 days. But every day I process 1 million claim. So fundamentally, in a month, I process 30 million claim. And in case of a year, 300 million claim. So by just not paying attention to a very small architectural detail, what really happened is 300 million times 1 cent. That is the cost which I have incurred. And just think about companies like phone pay or google pay in the financial space. They process 1 billion transaction per quarter very easily. So if they are making this mistake, right, just think how much is the loss. And that is exactly what NASA did. They never really cared about the data egress, and eventually they had a 50% cost overrun. So I'm not saying that the program managers needs to be technical, but what I'm saying is they need to know the hot buttons. They need to know the touch points where all cost is involved, especially in digital transformation. It doesn't stop there. You need to ensure your architect team, they know what they want in future. So if you go to the negotiation table with any cloud vendor and just tell him that, hey, you know what, in the next 5 years I may need machines of higher capability, he will lock you in a contract which has a lower discount and a higher pay. And that is what the slide which you are seeing is taken directly from the AWS site. But instead of that, if you go and tell him that I may need this type of a configuration, and this is what I need for the next 3 years, you are giving him some certainty. You are not just making it as a bulk insurance. So in that case, you will get a better discount. So as a program manager, you might need to know what right questions you need to ask your architecture team and drive it. And similarly, licensing in the on-prem world, you might have just paid 1% of your total cost on licensing. But remember, all your licenses will be a on-prem license, it will not be a cloud license. So you might need to pay attention there, saying that if you are in a Microsoft world, can when you migrate to Azure, can I convert my on-prem Microsoft license to a cloud license? Or if you are migrating to AWS, Oracle licenses in AWS is too costly, so can you get on to some of the AWS licenses for Aurora and reduce your cost? If you don't pay that attention, right, that is a risk which I was talking about. In the mainframe world, it is something similar to, if you don't pay attention to firewall, the security threat, you will launch your application and immediately someone will hack it. In this case, if you don't pay attention to such granular details and get onto the cloud, always your CIO will be thinking that I saved a lot of money by getting there. But the moment the first month bill arrives, he will be in for a surprise. He will unplug the whole program and he says that go back and do what you had been doing best. And that is why many of the programs fails. So as a program management perspective, my recommendation is every program manager who is in the digital transformation journey should undergo at least the base minimum certification of any of the private cloud, so that you will know where all the cost implications are there and where all the hidden costs are there. So just to summarize, you are not just the governors of the whole process, but you are also the gatekeepers. So nothing can get into the gate without your approvals. So that is a second lesson which we have learned in doing any digital transformation. The third one is transition strategy. Always we had been thinking like, okay, now I have a set of applications here. I'm going to get on to the future state, and the future state I will have all beautiful reports coming out, all the great visualization chart will be there, and our focus is always the future, which is great. But we also have to remember future. When you transition from your current state to future state, you don't end up constructing a tower of Babel. So what I mean is you keep putting effort and effort, but the program never ends. What I mean by that is, on one side you will start modernizing the program, you will do it. On the other side, there will be someone who will be putting in new changes into it, so that tech debt keeps increasing. So that means that this program will never end. You need to have a guarding process where you say, hey, you know what, this is how we will stop the further development unless otherwise it is business critical. And similarly, when you are in a cloud and on-prem world, you will never do a big bang approach. You will not take all your 100 applications and shift it to the cloud, but you will do it slowly. In that case, you need to have a budget allocated, that during a transition time, some of your applications are on cloud, some of your applications are on-prem. How you will still handle the production, because it's like a open heart surgery. Production doesn't stop just because you moved few applications are transforming there. If you are not paying attention there, few severity one tickets will throw cold water on the whole effort. The third thing is you might transform your application, but all your vendors may not do that. So fundamentally, you might need to understand there will be a downstream impact, there will be a vendor impact, and you might need to have a workaround. They may still keep depositing their feeds on a particular server in the on-prem. So do you have a mechanism to bring that file to the cloud? If you don't have, your production will stand still. So those are few things which any digital transformation journey has to really pay attention to. Data as a new oil. This is something every blog, if you see, you will keep hearing that, saying that data is the new oil. But remember, oil can catch fire. So fundamentally, you need to be very cautious about it. So if you go to IT teams and talk about data, they will talk about referential integrity, they will talk about access, they will talk about storage. All are great things. I come from IT, so I know that what language we use, but those are not sufficient. This is something like putting the screen with the F3 F9 on it. You need to collaborate with business. That is one learning which we had from the mainframe transformation. So these are certain businesses which they have done it effectively. So the first figure which you see on the slide, John Deere, they were a tractor manufacturer. They are still a tractor manufacturer, but they started collecting data about the soil, and they started giving recommendations saying that, you know what, when to sow, when to reap, what type of how much water you need to apply, and what type of seeds you have to plant, just because they had so many sensors, and that information they started monetizing it. So here you see a tractor manufacturer now coming into a data business, because the business did understand the usage of data. John Hancock and another insurance organization, they just take your uh, data from your smartwatch with your permission, and then they predict whether a particular patient will land up in a chronic state or not. Say, for example, a person with a high level of cholesterol and a low level of physical activity. The physical activity can be easily judged from your Fitbit or any smartwatch you are wearing. They will definitely say that, okay, this person has a high risk of ending up in a heart care. So they start programming, they start coming up with wellness programs so that you don't end up there. Progressive insurance, they changed the whole business model with data. What they did is, earlier when they were selling insurance, if you are a bachelor, your premium will be high, because they went by a general assumption bachelors are rash drivers. But if you are a family man, your insurance will be low. If you are a family man with children, your insurance will be further low, because the same assumption says family people are more responsible. Now they don't believe in such heuristics. They attach a particular sensor to your vehicle. They collect information like how speed you drive, what time of the day you drive, how long, and what is on an average how long you drive per day, and how rash is your driving. Now they, based on your driving habits, they charge you premium. So what it means here is, this ideas will not come in when you sit with an IT person. He will all talk about the storage tiers, and you will still deliver the program, but the business will come back and say that I want to bring in this feature, and they will start denting your architecture. You will start applying band-aid on your architecture even before it is fully developed. And that is the reason some of the programs are never taken to the completion. So what digital transformation has taught us is, you need to sit more and more with the business, help them to understand what is going around, and and devise your program from right to left. Right is your business, left is your IT. Your business case to a use case should start from business, then start mapping, saying that to do this, where my data comes from. And don't start collecting all data. We are not Amazon and Google. You don't have that type of a luxury to collect all data and keep it. Very soon we will go bankrupt. So we might need to know how much data to collect, how long to store, and what is the lineage we need to have, and what type of authority we need to exhibit when multiple conflicting data comes from different sources. So those are certain things which definitely you will get a clarity when you sit with the business. The last point is, this is something Mike Tyson said. Everyone has a plan until they get a punch in the face. So if those who are listening to this presentation, if you think that, hey, you know what, now I have got a good script, I know how to take a digital transformation. I will be part of that 14%. Just letting you know, even 2 weeks back, after delivering 2 to 3 major programs, we were struck in a scenario wherein a couple of our architecture we got to understand that some of the services are not HIPAA compliant. So we have to go back to the drawing board. So even today in digital transformation, we have more questions than answers. So in fact, next year, if we are going to have the same conversation, if I'm going to present to you on the same topic, maybe I might have three different points which I didn't cover. So what I really mean by that is, yeah, we are still in a area of uncertainty. We are still using unproven, untested services which are there in use just for the last couple of years. So all the tools which you are seeing had not been tested thoroughly, had not been proven successfully, but we still need to make a move. So one of the requests, how do we do that, is by plugging onto the community. We need to be tuned in to such programs. We need to be tuned in to such podcasts. We need to be tuned, subscribe to some newsletters, so that we get to know what is happening around us at a much, much faster rate. So to me, a smart man is not someone who never makes mistakes, but is someone who is willing to learn from others' mistakes. In that way, I thank STC for doing this conference and helping me to learn as well as share with all of you. Thank you.